you're going to start by sticking on your stick and stitch patterns in whatever arrangement you like. Now the beauty of this design is you really can have fun with it. So you can use them across multiple garments, or here I've just put them all across one garment just to create a really busy, fun look. Now for the name, I like to use chain stitch. So I've inserted the needle into the garment, I've left a little tail at the end, and popping the needle down through the same hole, bringing it up a stitch length ahead and hooking the little loop over. So needle through the same hole, one needle length ahead, and then hooking the yarn over. Now as you can see here, I'm holding the yarn with my non-needle hand to the side. This just makes it really easy for that yarn to automatically loop over the needle, creating a little chain. As you can see here, I wasn't able to join the O and the D in the letter, so I've just left a little piece of yarn free as I finish the letter O, which we're then going to go back and thread through the D once we're done. So I've started on the D here with a new piece of yarn. We're just going to continue moving the garment around and doing the same chain stitch. So that's the loop hooked over the needle. Hold the yarn to the side, needle through the same hole, hook the yarn over the needle and pull it tight. And by holding the yarn to the side with your thumb, you're just creating a really lovely tension, and this helps to ensure evenly spaced neat stitches. As you come to the end of your name, I'm just going to continue that chain stitch all the way up your final letter. So holding the yarn to the side, needle through the same hole, moving that yarn to hook it over the needle, and then just pulling it taut as so. And you're going to do that one more time, so needle through the same hole, hooking it over, and then you're just going to push the needle through the fabric, anchoring that final stitch into place, just like so. Now we're going to go back and connect the letters so they're joining. So we're just taking that tail of yarn that we left from the letter O, threading it through the needle, then you're threading it through the centre of one of the chains on the next letter. Then to tidy up the back of the garment, just going back, taking any loose ends that we've got, and I'm weaving it through the reverse of the chain stitch, as you can see here. 4 or 5 times is plenty, then you can just cut off any loose ends. Now for the different symbols, you can really use whatever stitch you like. This is a really good way to kind of practice some different embroidery techniques. Here I've used back stitch, which I think just creates a really nice clean outline, and I've opted not to fill the shapes in this design. So for back stitch, you can see I've done a stitch, like I'm a stitch length ahead, and then I'm bringing the needle back down through the fabric to meet with the end of the previous stitch. And you pull the yarn taut, So bring it a stitch length ahead and then bring the needle back to meet the end of the previous stitch. Again, stitch length ahead, back to touch the end of the previous stitch. And you just do this following the whole outline of the star. And then almost at the end, a few final little stitches. And for the outline of the smiley faces, again, you can use whatever stitch you like, but I love chain stitch here. I've left a little tail of yarn free at the end that we can tie off. So again, chain stitch, we can use exactly the same technique as we have done for the name. So needle through the fabric, bring it a stitch length forward and hook the yarn over. So through the same hole, stitch length forward and hook the yarn over. And as you can see, I'm still holding that yarn to the side with my non-needle hand. So as you bring the needle up, that yarn just automatically hooks over, creating a little link in the chain. You're going to do this all the way around your circle. And as you get to the final stitches of the smiley face, you can then turn it over, and then the start and the end piece of yarn, I just tie those off together and then cut off any remnants. And then to add in the details of the smiley face, I've chosen this lovely contrasting green, and I'm just using backstitch. So just the same as we did for the star. Do one stitch in reverse, bring the needle up a stitch length ahead, and then you're going to bring it back down to join the end of the previous stitch. So needle up a stitch length ahead and bring it back down, touching the end of the previous stitch. And we're going to do that just with the little mouth. And then for the eyes, we're going to do satin stitch. So that's just probably 3 or 4 straight stitches across the length of the shape that are touching each other. So we're going to bring the needle down through the bottom of the eye and then up through the top. And then tie off any loose ends on the reverse of the garment. Now for the lightning bolt, I've decided to try out using stem stitch. So you create one stitch, leaving a little loop, hold that loop to the side, and then bring the needle up through the center of your previous stitch. So do one stitch, hold the loop to the side, bring the needle up through the center of the last stitch, pull it taut. So bring the needle down. Hold to the side, up through the center of the last stitch, and then pull it taut. Just like so. And you're going to do that around the whole edge of the lightning bolt. And then just for a bit of fun, I've decided to outline the middle of the lightning bolt in a different colour. So again, we've used back stitch here, just exactly the same stitch that we did for the star next to it and the mouth of the smiley face. You can choose any 2 clashing colours to create this effect. Now for the other lightning bolt, I wanted a little bit of a contrast and a thicker outline, so I'm using chain stitch, the same as what we did for the outline of the smiley face and for the name. So you're bringing the needle through the centre of your last stitch, a stitch length ahead and hooking the yarn over. So needle through the same hole, a stitch length ahead and hook the yarn over and pull it taut. You're just going to continue following that outline. And again, I've opted not to completely fill these shapes with colour, but just focused on the outlines in all different embroidery techniques. I've picked a lovely bright blue to just do another line just inside, touching that chain stitch. So again, we're doing back stitch. We're just following the lines created by that chain stitch. So pop the needle a stitch length ahead and bring it back down to touch the end of the previous stitch. Bring it up a stitch length ahead and then back down through the fabric, touching the end of the previous stitch. And then I'm just opting to use back stitch again here for another star, this time in a lovely bright green. I'm going to use back stitch for the outline, and then we're going to go back again, choosing a contrasting colour to do another line just inside that green of the star. Now you can just really play around here and use this as your opportunity to try all different embroidery techniques. I think back stitch, chain stitch, split stitch or stem stitch all work really well for the outline of shapes. You could even try filling some of them using satin stitch or long and short stitch, but I think the tip is to try and use as many different stitches as you can just to create that really fun textured feel to your piece. Lastly, to remove the transfer paper, you simply run it under cold water. I find it easiest to pop it into the washing machine on a delicate wash on the lowest temperature. And we're done.